in the 1800s. And my grandmother went to Lepanto and got this from her brother because he, when they tore down the house in the 1960s, he got the wood and kept it in his basement because he remembered the house and loved it and saw it when he grew up every day. And then so he gave it to me to use in my artwork. And the wood was so old when I nailed it together, it was just, you know, it was a traumatic experience. But the sewing machine, I also added at the bottom, and I also incorporated music into this piece, a little bit of kind of bluegrass to play in the background to really give you that feeling. And these are, here you can see roses are made out of Bible pages, painted directly onto Bible pages and then glued onto the wood, one for each sister there. This is called the Miles in Winston County. It was in the Delta exhibit in 2008. And so this is just another example of a found object. I found these drawers on the side of the road. And the brushes here, really what inspired me to pick them up, that dirt outline of the brushes that you can see in the corner there. I varnished that dirt in so that it would seal that image. And that, I think you get a real sense of patina from the work, and there's lots of different elements to it. These small and intimate compartments I thought were interesting. The cicada symbolizes the South. And some of the little metal pieces are actually from Sloss Furnace in Alabama, in that area. I didn't actually take them from the furnace, but just some different objects that I had collected. This is Alabama, Your Shadows Never Leave Me, and it's about 10 feet long and heavy as I'll get out. And I assembled it together. It's made out of paneling, metal paneling, to look like a tin roof. So it's slanted, even when you look at it hanging on the wall, it's assembled together and slanted to look like a tin roof. I've got lace and Bible pages are glued underneath and on top of the metal, so when there's holes in the metal, you can see the Bible pages coming through. So I really got involved in layering at this point. Here's another detail. This is an installation view of the piece. Pieces working together in a gallery. And so you can see what happens when this stuff that was just junk is elevated to the level of fine art. And then when these pieces start working together, it really creates that mood. And I think that working with found objects is more effective than just working on canvas, especially with the mood that I'm trying to depict in my work. And because everything is working together as one to make that mood happen. That's a self-portrait. This is a work on paper, colored pencil, and all the little pieces are cut out and individually glued on. I'm a librarian as well, so I have a lot of interest in children's works, illustrations, that really that's where that kind of luminous quality comes from. Mari Sindak's In the Night Kitchen, the work in that, the artwork in that book is incredible. And so that's where that overlapping influence comes from. These pieces here are really an extension of that piece, just working on found objects. These are lunar moths. It's colored pencil and then glued onto found objects and onto canvas. And so there's a lot of rich layering, attention to texture and detail, which really makes the pieces successful, I think. This is Love is Greeting. It's a piece I made for my husband. And these are some colored pencil works that they all bring to mind that Southern presence. I keep going back to that. This is the start of this piece. I thought I'd talk a little bit. How am I on time here? Doing okay?
Okay. You want me to turn the light on so they can see that?
Yeah, I've got some images of it up here too, so.
While you're talking about the piece here, go ahead.
I found this flower bed on the side of the road, and I started sanding off the dirt. You can see that's me there. And I had been working on this portrait about the same time. and I thought they really fit well together. So I got this and cleaned it up a little bit and started working on all these different elements. It took about a year to finish this piece completely. Each piece of the work is cut out individually and glued on, so every leaf is drawn completely. All of the birds I did a rough draft of first, so the ones that are in this piece are actually a little fine art work in themselves, because I did a complete rough draft and then did another drawing based on that and added the watercolor, and you can just kind of see how that developed. These, again, are the leaves that are individually cut out and drawn and pasted together. I didn't imagine that it would take that long to do this, but it did, and so I was dedicated once I started. And so you can see here that the leaves are glued on, one on top of another, each other to give that appearance of a tree. That takes a really long time to do. And so there are a lot of leaves that are completely covered up in this piece that I drew completely, and so that's what gives it that sense of fullness, that there's actually a tree there. I was influenced a lot by Henry Darger, who's an outsider artist, who is this guy that created artwork in his apartment and lived his whole life and never told anybody. He was a janitor, never told anybody he was making these works, and he did these beautiful collages and filled his apartment full of them, and then when he died, they found them. And so that really inspired me, that somebody would spend their whole life creating artworks, not for anybody but themselves. And he was probably crazy, but, you know. But that element really inspired me to take this to that personal level, and so it really became about the process for me. And then here you can see I've glued the pieces in. And then after I got done with this work, I took a step back and I said, wow, this would have been just as successful, maybe, without the portrait of Uncle Tooth in it. Just the robins and the clouds and the birds.